Y'all knew it was coming, 100 days of Stardew in 1.6, and when I tell you I was excited to get the season started, I can't even tell you how thrilled I was to start playing this update. I've tried my best to stay away from spoilers and haven't watched any YouTube videos or shorts, so strap into the chaos of discovering all of the new amazing features for Stardew 1.6. To my surprise, there were 4 new pets to pick from, and I went with the white cat for this run, which was a very tough decision. The only thing I knew beforehand was that there was going to be a new map type, the Meadowlands farm, but I was excited to read that it starts with 2 chicken and a coop, and I of course had to pick that layout. You start your first day on the farm in a very cozy cabin space, and you even get a dresser to store all of your clothes in, which I don't think you have in any of the other maps. I of course started my run by collecting my... wait, those aren't parsnips. Confused, I watched some TV first, and the spirits and I were off to a great start. I went outside, and at first glance, the map looked very similar to the forest farm. Muscle memory took over to clear some space for my starter crops until I remembered I didn't have any. So I went around looking for my starter coop, which was very close and also surrounded by the new blue grass. I opened the gate for my chicken and fed them some of my starter hay, before clearing the space in front of the coop to give them enough space to walk around. I cleared the space in front of my house as well and crafted a chest with the wood I collected. I decided to check out Cindersap Forest first, and that tree hasn't always been this big, right? I introduced myself to Jazz and Haley and walked into town next, where I introduced myself to Jody, Vincent, and of course Emily, on my way to Pierre's. I walked past Marnie and Harvey, and I almost missed Abigail before entering the store. I introduced myself to the townspeople roaming around there, and I then spent my entire money on potatoes, making sure to talk to Pierre as well, since I usually forget about him. I checked the calendar and immediately saw some new things. The bookseller was apparently going to be in town 2 times this month, and there was another festival from the 15th to the 17th, but it didn't say what it was. I checked Alex's house, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary here, and I found an artifact spot. At least that's what I thought it was, but when I dug up some carrot seeds, I realized it wasn't some retextured worms, but probably something entirely new. I checked out Joja Mart, making sure to interrupt Sam and Shane at work, and checked out Clint's and the museum, where I found an unread book even though I haven't found one in an artifact spot. And since it had some basic farming information, it probably was an edition for beginner players. I introduced myself to Elliot on my way to the beach and found a lost book in one of the actual artifact spots there. On my way back, I opened my inventory for the first time and realized that it had a few new tabs. One for my animals, which apparently were named Grushenka and Chicky, and special items and powers tab, where you could see the normal wallet items and a bunch more things to explore. While I was in the menu, I also checked the collection tabs and discovered there were lots of new items to collect. I walked up to the mountains to see if there was anything new there, but it looked like that area hasn't changed either, so I introduced myself to the people there, and I was only missing a few more for the introduction quest. So I checked the saloon to talk to Gus and decided to finish the rest of the quest tomorrow. My second day started preparing my farming area, and out of habit I hoed and watered 15 spaces, even though I had only bought 10 potato seeds. I had a few more mixed seeds and the new carrot seeds I could plant too, so it wasn't a waste of energy. I went down to the beach to collect my fishing rod and stayed by the ocean to throw a few lines. I checked Willie's shop, who had a new recipe for a fish smoker and some smallmouth bass bait, so maybe there were different baits now to ensure you catch a specific fish, which I thought was an amazing addition. I sold the fish I had caught and collected some beach forageables. I also collected some forageables at the bus stop. Down in the forest area, I collected a bunch of spring onions, and I found a door that definitely wasn't there before. I wasn't a master of the 5 ways yet, which probably refers to fully leveled skills, so this was going to be some endgame content I'd have to be a little more patient for. Since Willie had a new recipe, I wanted to check Pierre's as well, and I found a Dehydrator, which I could apparently use to dehydrate fruits and mushrooms, which is kinda cool. I finally talked to Alex, finishing my introduction quest, and gave him a dandelion to earn my first quest money. Back at the farm, I talked to my chicken because I forgot about them in the morning. Having animals this early into the run is definitely something I will have to get used to. I used the rest of my energy to clear some space on my farm and went to bed reaching foraging and fishing level 1. On day 3, I collected my first eggs, and that led to finishing the Getting Started quest, which on the Meadowlands map wasn't harvesting your first parsnips, but maturing your chicken to get an egg. Since it was rainy, I went fishing in the town river and caught a weird blob, which was apparently river jelly, that gave you a 30+ max energy for some time. I lost my first catfish, but hooked and caught the second one. I went to check Robin's shop, and she also had a new recipe for a big chest. When I cycled through the farm buildings, I found a pet bowl, which had a few new designs to choose from, and I also really like that the UI shows how long it takes to build a new building now. I walked around town to check if I missed anything and found this area behind Joja Mart. There was nothing there to interact with, and remembering the bookseller on the calendar, I figured that this area was probably going to be where to find him. There was also a fenced area there, which was blocked by a big stump though, so I went back to my farm to again use the rest of my energy for tidying up. Day 4 started watering my crops and taking care of my animals. I sold their eggs and went fishing in the town river, finding some iron in a treasure chest. I found some more carrot seeds at the beach, which I planted back home for symmetry reasons. Fishing at the mountain lake gave me my first actual artifact, and I donated the artifact to the museum, earning 250 gold. I planted the rice shoots from one of my treasure chests and cleared some of the green grass to give the blue one more space to grow. I didn't see a difference for my chicken yet, but I guess the bluegrass will help animals like rabbits and ducks to produce feathers and rabbit feet faster than they usually do. The day ended reaching level 2 fishing. Marnie came to my farm the next morning and brought me my white cat, which I named Marie after one of my favorite movie cats ever. You can comment down below if you know what movie I'm talking about. I harvested my first carrot and got my first letter from Joja Mart, and I really liked the new paper they were sending me letters on. Day 5 was also the first time I realized we now have text signs, which is something I didn't know I was missing until now. I put my fish in a separate chest since my single one was getting a little crowded at this point, and walked to town opening up the community center. I went to Pierre's to sell a few things so I had enough money for the backpack upgrade, and I read the plaque in the community center. Marlon gave me my sword and I entered the mines for the first time, where I got an aquamarine on the first floor. My energy was very low, so I killed the slimes on floor 9 hoping I'd find a ladder. I didn't get too lucky though, but with 3 energy left, I finally found the ladder leading down to floor 10, where the chest had a wooden blade for me. My mining trip gave me level 1 mining too. The next day I harvested 2 parsnips, crafted my first furnace, and smelted my first copper bar. I opened a bunch of mail and got invited to join the Adventurers Guild, so I made my way to the mines and started making my way down, collecting some copper ore on the way. I have this really bad habit not to check the TV for luck before I go to the mines, so I made it to floor 20 where I got a steel small sword, and only made it to floor 25 because I could craft a bomb to find my last ladder. I used bombs and algae for mob drops to collect more copper and got very lucky with ladders for mob kills, so I barely made it to level 30 around midnight, which isn't great, but it was a start. I went home to clear some weeds and kind of lost track of time, so I passed out, reaching level 1 farming, level 2 mining, and level 1 combat. Another carrot was ready for me on day 7, which I replaced with some mixed seeds, and after watering my crops, taking care of my chicken, and collecting their eggs, I planted some more rice down by the lake and crafted a scarecrow to protect future crops. I grabbed a few things I might need for the community center and collected some gold from the scarecrow quest. After talking to the wizard, granting me the knowledge of the Junimo language, I checked my first bundles. I chose to play with the remix bundles, and I got unlucky with the spring bundle because I brought a leek and it asked for a spring onion instead. I also got a new bundle asking for moss, a new item I hadn't encountered yet. At the farm, I planted some more mixed seeds and went to the bridge in town to fish. The new update had these pop-ups that would tell me I have some new ideas to sleep on, and I still have to figure out what exactly it means, but it may have something to do with finding new recipes. I went to Cindersap Forest to collect some spring onions because I really wanted to finish my first bundle today. I was rewarded with some spring seeds, unlocking both the pantry and the fish tank. The pantry had a few new items, the carrot, which I could already donate, and the summer squash. The only really annoying bundle was going to be the fish farmer's bundle. I donated a sunfish and a few beach forageables to the fish tank, which was very doable as well. The quality bundle was going to take some time, but it wasn't too bad. I put some items I didn't need into the shipping bin and went to bed, reaching level 3 fishing and level 2 foraging. On day 8, I checked my skills, and the inventory now says what level of the mines you've gotten to, as well as the amount of upgrades you've bought for the farmhouse. My potatoes were ready to collect, so I replaced them with spring seeds. I took the fish tank fish to the community center to donate, and after checking which crops I needed, I headed over to Pierre's to buy a bean starter and kale seed, and a bunch of different crops. Back at the farm, I prepped my farming space for the seeds I had just bought, and am I the only one that never puts the single bean with the rest of the seeds? It kinda looks mean now looking back at it. I brought some of my gems to the museum and received some cauliflower seeds as a reward. I fished until late at night and caught a bream I knew I needed for the community center. The next day I replaced some ripe crops with some cauliflower seeds from the museum reward, and opened a money gift from my dad. I got some jade from a treasure chest at the mountain lake, and after catching a gold quality largemouth bass, I walked back to the community center to donate it, along with the bream I caught the day before. I got a perfect treasure chest catch at the town river, which is always exciting, but I only got some coal from it, and I spent the rest of the day in front of Willie's shop, where I caught some sea jelly, which differed from the river jelly because it had a +1 fishing buff instead of the increased energy. I passed out right in front of my farmhouse, but unlocked level 4 fishing. I was surprised about the worm bin being unlocked earlier than usual, but even more so wondered what this new deluxe bait was. Day 10 started watering my field and collecting a bunch of leeks in the backwoods, and I spent my day making my way through the dark floors, which were sadly still part of the game. I got attacked by a huge swarm of bats on floor 32, and with no energy left on floor 39, I started exhausting myself on the few rocks left. Even after hitting 0 energy, you have a few swings left, and since I was pretty sure I'd level up overnight, I didn't mind dying from exhaustion, since I'd still have full energy the next day. One of the last rocks left had a ladder for me, so I made it to level 40 where I got a slingshot and hit the floor to pass out completely. I thought I'd level up mining, but I got farming level 2 instead, probably from taking care of my chicken in the morning. As long as I had some level up though, I was fine. I harvested a few parsnips that I replaced with the cauliflower seeds I had left, and after watering my crops, I finally crafted my first mayonnaise machine. And is it just me, or does the brown egg sprite look a little bigger than the white one? I was so confused I thought there was a middle-sized egg in the game now, but I double-checked it was just a regular egg. So I put one of them in the mayo machine and cleared some rocks on my farm to pass some time. I grabbed Robin's axe in the Cindersap forest and my own copper axe at Clint's, and while I was on that side of the town river, I checked the bookseller's stall for the first time, who had books that apparently added permanent buffs, like walking faster and improving your skills, but they were, well, kind of outside of my price range right now. I remembered there was this fenced-in area behind the stall, but since you couldn't see through the hot air balloon, I didn't want to look what was behind it because I wanted y'all to see what it was too. So I collected some more wood for a quest I had accepted for Robin and walked up to the mountains to give her both the axe and the wood she had requested. I also checked the Adventurers Guild, where Marla had a few new decorative items for me. The rest of the day I spent going down a few levels in the mines and collecting some iron for some sprinklers, because I was starting to get sick of watering crops, and after passing out at 2 AM, I reached level 3 mining. The next day a few parsnips were ready for me, and I used Babby's tip, filling my inventory with random items and a gold parsnip to only collect gold parsnips, because I needed them for the community center, but there were none to harvest today. I cleared some farm space, collecting hardwood from the big logs, and I drank some mayo for the first time, an update we've definitely all been waiting for. Since the egg festival was tomorrow, I decided to harvest all the parsnips anyways, because there was still enough time to get 4 more quality parsnips before the end of spring, and I wanted to sell the stuff I didn't need to have enough gold for strawberry seeds. I grabbed a bunch of fish as well and went to the community center to check a few bundles, forgetting I had the forest bundle instead of the construction one, and wondered why I still haven't encountered any moss yet. I went to the mines to collect more ore for the sprinklers because I was not going to water 40-ish strawberries. I smelted my ore while looking for more things to sell in my chests. I crafted my first 2 sprinklers but wanted to save the actual hoeing for the next morning when I had more light to see and not mess up the pattern. Going to bed, I reached level 2 combat. I started day 13 prepping my farming space by placing my first few sprinklers and hoeing and watering the area because I knew I was going to come home late from the egg festival. When I walked into the festival, I made sure to talk to all the villagers, and after buying 47 strawberry seeds, I started the egg hunt. And I don't know if I was just nervous because it was the new update or if the eggs were actually in a different place than usual, but I really struggled to find them and barely got 11 eggs. At least it was enough to win. Back home, the space I prepared was definitely not enough for the amount of seeds I bought, so I hoed and watered a few more spaces to place down the rest, going to bed exhausted and with a bunch of work done. Day 14, I harvested a few potatoes and the unmilled rice I had forgotten about and watered my still very chaotic field. I grabbed a few of the potatoes for energy, which was perfect because Jody also requested one on the Help Wanted board, so I brought one to her before donating the kale to the community center and going to the mines for more ore hunting. I found a huge cluster of iron on floor 43 and made sure to grab some copper on the early floors as well, because I not only needed some more copper bars, but wanted enough to craft a second furnace to speed up my progress as well. I stayed in the mines until I passed out to get the most out of my trip and reached level 3 foraging, which unlocked a new recipe, moss soup, which reminded me that I still hadn't found any moss yet. But I unlocked a cookout kit, which I'm pretty sure only used to unlock at level 9 or 10. Week 3 started harvesting a bunch of forageables, which meant a lot less watering for me to do. I crafted another furnace, and when I came to the Help Wanted board, I found this weird ticket looking thing, so I accepted the quest to see what it was. I unlocked the right side of the beach to collect a few forageables, and spent most of the day in the mines to continue collecting ore for sprinklers, which I crafted back home and placed in the spots I had prepped for them. I went to bed reaching level 3 farming and 4 mining. On day 16, I watered the few crops that were left with no sprinklers, and after checking with the spirits and collecting some salmon berries from the bushes in the mountains, I went to collect some copper so I could interrupt Leah's examination to give Harvey his requested copper bar and finally find out what this ticket meant. It said I should bring the ticket to Lewis's house, which I immediately did, and it gave me a new cutscene where Lewis explained the new prize machine to me. When I opened it, the first thing that I could win was some carrot seeds, and I checked if you could reset the prizes, but it looks like it stays the same and you get what you get. So I bought the first prize and watched some mystery boxes move in. I went back into the mines for the rest of the day, collecting a bunch of salmon berries on the way back and showing Clint some copper for an earlier quest. I also prepped even more farming space with the energy I had left. I wanted to buy some seeds on day 17, waiting for Pierce to open, only to be reminded he doesn't open on Wednesdays. So I instead went to the museum to donate a few new items and to Clint's to upgrade my pickaxe, because advancing in the mines was getting annoying, taking up 3 swings per rock. I went fishing in the ocean and donated a sardine to the community center, and I stayed up late fishing as well. When I checked the calendar for birthdays, I realized there had been a festival for the past 2 days, but I'm pretty sure I had been to every area in the valley, so maybe this was a Ginger Island festival I still had to unlock. I went to bed reaching level 5 fishing, where I of course chose the fisher profession, which meant I could finally sell all the fish I'd been collecting. I got rid of the log in the top of my farm, so now I could reach every part of it, and I slowly got annoyed that I still didn't have a silo, and I feel like I've been getting significantly less clay than I would usually, so I tried to force it by hoeing the ground in the mines without luck. So I went to the community center instead to donate a cave carrot and finish the spring crops bundle. I also donated a copper bar and a ruby, and I was so ready to finish the minecarts to move around quicker. I also brought an amethyst and topaz from home and stayed by the ocean, seeing if I could find more fish to catch. Before going home to bed, I went to the saloon to buy Pam a beer for her birthday. On day 19, I was reminded that crows were a thing, and I crafted a second scarecrow to protect the rest of my crops. I got a whole iron bar from Emily's and Haley's trash can, and got some melon seeds after donating the dwarf hat to the museum. After picking up my copper pickaxe from Clint, I finally bought the seeds I wanted, and brought Jody a quest cauliflower. I donated some fiber and the iron bar I found in the trash on my way to the mines. I got the silver saber on floor 50, which got replaced just seconds later by an iron edge mob drop. I noticed it had some enchantments or something already on it, which I think is new as well. I donated some solar essence on my way home, which meant I only had 4 more things left to donate in the boiler room. I woke up on day 20 with level 3 combat, and after doing my usual morning routine, I checked behind this tree and found my warp spot on the farm. I sold some items to Pierre and processed some geodes at Clint's in hopes of finding valuable minerals to sell and upgrade my axe. I really wanted to get into the secret forest because I thought I'd find some moss there, and finding new items was my priority right now. I tried my luck at finding clay in the mountains again and actually found some on the 5th try. So I could go to the mines collecting ores and smelting them at home while sorting through all the things I'd need for tomorrow. Reaching level 4 foraging at the end of the day gave me a new recipe for a mushroom log, which I really loved the look of. My first harvest of strawberries was ready for me on day 21, which meant there was a lot of money waiting for me at Pierre's. But before visiting him, I collected a carp to get some money from Demetrius and finally built a silo in the spot I had prepared a few days ago. I gave Maru a strawberry as a gift because I know she loves them and stayed fishing at the lake for a little bit. I brought the money I got from Pierre's to the bookseller to check what books he had on rotation this time, but they are just so expensive. It was still nice to see what I could be excited for in the future though. I brought Demetrius his crab, which I had caught but immediately forgot to give to him yesterday, and joined Willie fishing in the ocean. And I don't know, but I feel like I've been getting a lot more treasure chests in this update. I sold the fish in the shipping bin and got level 4 farming. On day 22, Demetrius finally waited for me, giving me access to my fruitbat cave. I walked over to the museum since I'd collected a bunch of artifacts while fishing and went to Clint's to pick up my steel axe. You can imagine the disappointment after spending 7,000 gold on a steel axe and not finding any moss, but maybe I had to wait for it to rain again. I did find my favorite mushroom though, which kinda lifted my spirits. When I got home, I cleared the bottom right of my farm to free my path to the farm cave. I got a houseplant from chopping a tree, which I was excited about, but also kinda confused, but it fit perfectly into my house because it was the exact same one I already had. I finally had a rainy day again, which I feel like I haven't had in ages, and filled my inventory to find some gold parsnips, which were fully grown today. I was still getting these idea pop-ups in the bottom left, and maybe I had to upgrade my house for access to the kitchen so I could develop those ideas. I fished for a shad in the town river and donated it along with the moral I found to the community center. I talked to Caroline, reaching 2 hearts with her, and we all know what that means. My spare energy was again spent on chopping down trees because I wanted to build some new buildings. And I also collected a bunch of hay to fill my silo, while I made sure to leave as much bluegrass as possible. I checked the secret forest, but even during the rainy days, there was sadly no moss for me to collect. I remembered the box behind the booksellers though, which I had waited to open but totally forgotten about until now. Yeah, I know this is turning into a recurring theme, but that's just the way my brain works. The box had one of those prize tickets inside of it, but it was sadly too late to bring it to Lewis's house, so I brought it home and went to bed, reaching farming level 5, choosing the tiller profession. What else? Day 24 started collecting another gold parsnip and watering the 4 crops that were left. At the beach I hoed up the seed spot, thinking I'd get more carrot seeds, but got surprised with some summer squash seeds, and even though I did think there was going to be seeds for every season, I was surprised to already see the summer seeds in spring. After emptying my pockets at home, I continued my progression in the mines, collecting a bunch of iron and mob drops. I got a monster book on floor 64, which gave me an amazing loot buff for slaying mobs, and finished the mine run on floor 65. I also finally got a glow ring, which meant I could finally see at night. I chose the gatherer occupation at level 5 foraging. Day 25 started with another gold parsnip harvest, and I got the 2 I still needed, so I could also harvest the rest, along with my second big strawberry harvest. I accepted another ticket quest from Linus, brought the parsnips to the community center, and then I did some mining, finding a slingshot on floor 70 that I'll definitely use, and a nice new hat and boots a few floors later. I made it to the gold levels where I collected some gold ore for the gold bar I needed for the community center, and on my way back home, I finished the adventurers bundle for a magnet ring and donated an aquamarine to the treasure hunters bundle. 2 things left for the mine cards. I smelted my gold ore and reached level 5 mining, where I'm always the most indecisive to decide what perk to get, but this time I chose the miner's perk, and I also reached level 4 combat. The strawberries I had forgotten to water for a day were ready on day 26, And after taking care of my animals and cutting down some trees because I wanted to get a barn to add to my farm animals, I checked my fruit bat cave for the first time, which didn't have any fruit yet, but a wild plum that I could also donate. I got rewarded with a starfruit seed after donating my second dwarf scroll to the museum and needed to go to the community center first to free some space in my backpack. I donated a frozen geode and some salmon berries to the bulletin board, a gold bar, finishing the blacksmith bundle, and unlocking the vault. And I donated the wild plum, the spice berry, and the crystal fruit to the crafts room. I then went to Robin's and decided to build the fish pond first, because I needed the roe and age roe for the community center, and that would take longer than the milk. I did a quick detour in the mines to find the last missing crystal for the treasure hunters bundle, which got me to floor 90 where I got an obsidian edge, my favorite sword in the game. The crystal I found to donate was an emerald, and even though it was too late now to open all of my geodes, it was still worth it to finally finish the boiler room, giving me a lucky lunch and my first community center star. While I was there, I donated a crab and a red mushroom that I had found caving too, and I eagerly waited for the minecarts to be fixed overnight. My skills were looking very balanced on day 27. I don't think I've ever skilled up so evenly. I brought all of my geodes to cleanse and got 2 new minerals I had not donated yet, and went to Louis' prize machine to get a peach tree sapling and some mixed seeds. I went into Caroline's tea room to unlock the tea sapling recipe and walked back to Clint's because I forgot to leave my pickaxe with him to upgrade. I gave Emily an amethyst for her birthday, collected a bunch of spring onions, and went fishing in Cindersap Forest, where I got 2 chests in a row. Must be my new headwear. I even got some gold from a later treasure chest. I grabbed some forageables in the secret forests, still no moss by the way, and went back home to smelt some more ore. When I went to sleep, I had this weird dream of Mr. Key dropping off mystery boxes, which apparently could now be found anywhere. I got level 6 fishing, unlocking the bait maker, and the recipe for something called a sonar bobber. On the last day of spring, my pond was ready, and I immediately put Robin back to work to build a barn for me. I went fishing in the ocean to fish some sardines because I needed some fish to fill my pond with, and these were the easiest to fish for now. I sold the rest of the fish in the shipping bin, and also crafted a bunch of spring seeds to use in my new tea sapling recipe. I brought the chub and the common mushroom to the community center and went to the woods to find some fiber so I could use up the rest of my spring seeds for tea saplings. I had to find out the hard way that tea saplings have been nerfed, but I still ended my day with almost 10,000 gold more. Today we're playing the entirety of summer, starting with the regular first of the month tasks. I started putting down the speed grow I had because I knew if I didn't put it down now, I probably wouldn't ever. I then placed down the seeds I'd collected over spring and cut down a bunch of weeds to collect some hay for my silo. I also found a new flower mixed seed which I haven't seen before. I then picked up my steel pickaxe at Clint's and fished my first rainbow trout in the town river. I went to pick up my iridium rod at Willie's and fished for a gold tuna in the ocean because I needed the quality fish for the community center. I checked the calendar and saw that there was a new trout derby. I donated both the quality and the regular tuna to the community center, along with the cockle finishing the crab pot bundle. I also donated some ice cream I'd bought at Alex's ice cream shop. I fished in the mountain lake until late at night and gave some frozen geodes to my fish pond the next morning. I also fished for a gold star shad and a pike in the town river. The next morning, I went to Pierce to buy a bunch of summer seeds to plant on my farm, and I dug up some new spots to plant them down and left some spaces for sprinklers. Since it was raining, I went to the ocean to catch a red snapper, which I sadly didn't get, but I reached level 7 fishing. On day 31, I planted some new crops and took care of my animals, which I as usual forgot about, and I collected all of the eggs they had been laying. I ran over to the community center to donate these eggs, along with a cookie I found in the trash, and a grape and sweet pea to finish the summer foraging bundle. I fished some more in the ocean, as well as Cindersap Forest, and went over to the secret forest to cut down some hardwood and collect some fiddlehead fern where I got this relic shirt from a slime. I caught a woodskip in the tiny lake and finally unlocked level 7 farming, unlocking the recipe for the quality sprinkler. Day 32 started planting some new crops and checking my bat cave for the first time, which didn't have anything too exciting but a cherry, which was pretty cool. I went to the mines where I got an entire gold bar and this new mystery box from a mob, and finally reached level 100, gaining my first star drop. Back home, I smelted some of the ore I had collected and crafted some new sprinklers for my farm, which would definitely make my mornings easier from now on. I got this woody secret book from cutting down some trees on my farm, which gave me a 5% chance to get double wood. I also bought a cow at Marnie's and randomized the name till I found one I liked. I went to Marnie's shop to also buy one of the milk buckets, and when I scrolled down, I found out that she had cat trees, which I was definitely going to save up for. Back on my farm, I also finally found some moss, which looked really cool on the new trees. I think I like it most on the acorn trees though. I went to Clint's to open up the mystery box, which, well, was not that exciting. So I also opened some geodes I had left and donated the minerals I found in it to the museum. I donated some moss, a cherry, and a red mushroom to the community center, and went home taking care of my cow. I spent the rest of the day in the mines collecting some ore and working on my combat skill. I went back the next day working on my combat skill before going to town and collecting more moss. I rearranged my room with some of the posters I got from the museum as reward. And I also crafted my first tapper, which I put on one of the trees on my farm. I spent the rest of day 34 recycling some broken CDs. On day 35, I had my first summer harvest with some summer squash and some hot peppers, which I immediately donated to the community center. And of course, the one time I actually catch the train, it's a Joja Mart train, which doesn't drop anything, sadly. I gave Caroline a red mullet for one of her quests, which gave me a prize ticket, which I traded for 3 mystery boxes at Lewis's, which meant I was 1 ticket closer to this new tea-looking thing. I spent some time fishing in the mountain lake and in the town river, and sold all of my fish back home, reaching level 8 fishing and unlocking the deluxe worm bin recipe. On day 36, I went back to Clint's to open up more mystery boxes, which were definitely a lot better than the first one. I spent a lot of my energy cutting down trees and clearing my farm, and went to the ocean to catch a red snapper. I stayed fishing at the ocean to also catch some new summer fish, and went to Gus' saloon to buy most of the recipes there except for the triple shot espresso, which I didn't have enough money anymore. I donated the red snapper to the community center as well as a blackberry, and I went back home to get a tilapia because I knew I had it in a chest. I unlocked level 6 foraging, finally getting the recipe for lightning rods. So I crafted one on day 37 and put it down so the lightning could stop ruining my crops. I wanted to put a salmon berry into a preserves jar and accidentally gifted it to Robin, who was working on my house, so I put another one in the preserves jar to get some wine for the shipping collection. I went to the mines to collect some more iron and finish the quest for the wizard, which I went to visit straight after, collecting all of the moss on my way. Waking up to an upgraded house, I started my morning of day 38 rearranging my furniture and came outside to another big harvest. Mayor Lewis gave me 500 gold for being the best neighbor ever, and gifting a strawberry to Maru gave me a new friend achievement. I rearranged my chest because now I had a lot more space inside of the house. I also set up my space for the workbench. If you haven't used the workbench before, it is such a great help for crafting, and after discovering it, I'm never going back. I crafted this new mushroom log because I wanted to see what it did, and it said it growed best next to trees, so I put it in a corner of my farm where most of the trees were still grown. I also put down a few more lightning rods to protect my farm before going back to bed. The next morning, Emily waited for me and gave me access to her sewing machine, and a bunch of coffee and my melons were finally ready on day 39. I got a pop-up for a luau, which I otherwise would have forgotten about, so I went inside to check what I had to put into the soup. At the luau, I talked to all of the villagers as usual, and went to the soup to add my gold quality tuna. The governor liked it but didn't seem too excited about it. Day 40 started getting my first jar of milk, and the bookseller was in town again, which had a new menu where I thought, oh wait, this is so cool, I can buy a book for 100 wood? Not realizing that he sold the items to me for the books. If I was able to read, I would have known that before, but instead I went back home like an idiot, got some wood, and was very disappointed. So I went to the community center instead to donate a melon and some jelly. I went to the mines reaching level 105, which gave me mining level 6 and level 5 combat, where I chose the fighter profession. Day 31 was a rainy day again, which I had a lot of in summer, so I harvested my crops and was determined to go to the mines to reach the bottom. I got the slammer on floor 110, and my energy was so low on 190 that I started crafting bombs, but I made it to level 120, getting the skull key. I finished the summer crops bundle and donated some quality hot peppers to the community center, reaching level 7 farming. Day 42 started collecting some batteries and removing the lightning rods to have more space to farm. I went to the traveling cart who sold a retro catalog, which meant there was new furniture in this update as well. I also cut down some hardwood stumps in the secret forest and bought another cow for my farm. I went to Pierre's, finally finishing upgrading my backpack, and went back to the mines to collect some ore and work on my combat skill. I gave Clint the copper he requested and sorted all of my stuff back home, where I realized I had an ancient seed in my inventory. I planted some of the hops I needed for Pam's quest and some other random seeds I found on the way, and put some more ore in the furnace before going to bed. Day 43 started harvesting some more crops and going to Clint's opening geodes, which I donated to the museum, along with the ancient seed, giving me the ancient seed recipe and 1 seed packet. I wanted to donate the wheat flour to the community center, where I needed 100 instead of 10, which I didn't know, so I instead donated a sunflower and some maple syrup. I spent my day fishing at the mountain lake and giving Maru a carp for another prize ticket. I finished the lake fish bundle with a sturgeon and spent the rest of my night fishing in the ocean. Day 44 started harvesting my first corn and checking my bat cave I had forgotten about again, which had both an orange and an apricot, which is amazing. I gave a grape to Marnie for a quest and bought the rest of the wheat I needed at Pierre's. I donated both of the fruit tree fruits to the community center along with the corn and the 100 wheat flour, and brought the prize ticket to Lewis to finally get the Star Drop tea, a special gift that everyone enjoys, which I haven't found out what it means yet. I spent the rest of my energy clearing my farm from some more trees and crafted the deluxe worm bin for the first time. I did a little more mining around midnight, reaching level 7 mining. On day 45, I picked up my copper hoe at Clint's, donated the squidding to the community center, and again didn't have the right amount to donate something else, so I donated a blueberry to the dye bundle and went fishing in the ocean, as well as the town river. I sold most of the fish back home. On day 46, I found a trash catalog and a trash can outside the museum and bought the fish smoker recipe at Willie's. I went to the mines to find the cave jelly I still needed for the recipe, and when I didn't reel up any on floor 60, I went to floor 100. But I didn't get too lucky, so I had to go back home. Day 47 started with a huge harvest of crops, which I sold most of for profit. I also cut down some of the long grass because in this update you are significantly slower in it, and I found some purple mushrooms on the mushroom log I'd forgotten about. I placed down the trash catalog to check what was inside, and well, it was trashy. So I went to the community center finishing the exotic foraging bundle. I gave Demetrius a melon for his birthday and went straight back to the mines to find some jelly, getting a lot more lucky this time. Back home I crafted the fish smoker and put in some fish I had 2 of, so I could check how much more profit it would make. I gave Clint the ores he had collected, and when going to bed I saw that the fish smoker almost doubled the price, which is really good. I gave Demetrius another melon for a quest, and on day 48 I finally found out what the trout derby was. So apparently you fish up rainbow trout and you have a chance of them having a golden tag, which you can exchange for prizes. I did get a bunch of rainbow trout and a chest with an iridium band and a mystery box, but I sadly didn't get any golden tags, which I don't know if I'm just really unlucky or if the chance is just really low to get any. I did reach level 9 fishing though. Day 49 started with a regular harvest, where I also got some of the summer forageables, and my second new cow was ready to produce milk as well. I also cut down the fences, which were starting to break down, and I didn't really care if the chicken ran around my farm. I ate a sea jelly to improve my fishing and a lucky lunch, which I'm happy I ate second because it replaced the buff of the sea jelly. But now I had +3 luck, which would definitely give me a lot more golden tags. I got the first one from a chest, which I thought was just the way you caught them, but shortly after I got another golden tag without a treasure chest. I ended my day with only 4 tags, which I don't know if it's a lot or not, but y'all can tell me how many you got on your first trout derby. I got rewarded with a new tent kit, a bucket hat, a crab pot, and a mystery box, which are pretty underwhelming results for the amount of time I spent here. So I went back home, storing all of my items and going to bed. I opened the geodes and mystery boxes I had the next day at Clint's and exchanged the prize ticket for a blue striped bed. I finished the home cooks bundle with some milk, upgraded my barn, and got a really lucky treasure chest on day 50. I also went to the mines to work on my combat skill, reaching level 8 farming and finally leveling up my combat. Day 51 was a strange day, waking up to this pop-up that a green rain has descended upon the valley, and when I came outside, my entire farm was overgrown with weeds. I cut them down, not only getting fiber but also moss, which was really exciting because otherwise it was really annoying to collect. Gus sent me a letter that I could come to the saloon to take shelter, and when I went to sell my crops in the shipping bin, I saw that I had a mossy seed in my inventory, which was also new. My cows seemed fine, they even gave me milk, which I was happy about, so I went around my farm cutting down more of the weeds. I also cut down all of these weird trees that grew around the valley, which were just regular trees dropping wood. Most of the town was gathered in Gus' saloon, and they all seemed slightly concerned. I did find this weird looking tree which dropped fiddlehead fern, which was also nice to see. Coming to the mountains, I found Demetrius in a hazmat suit, which made me worry if my choice of clothing was the best for today. Demetrius' family was gathered in the basement, and talking to Sebastian, he was the only one that wasn't freaking out. I went through Cindersap Forest, cutting down more of the weird trees and weeds. And there was a bunch in Cindersap Forest. I made sure to cut down all of these fiddlehead fern logs because fiddlehead fern is usually a little annoying to collect. I tried to use most of my day to collect as much moss as I could and placed down the tent kit because I wanted to see what it did. I reached level 7 foraging that day. On day 52, I woke up in the exact same space I went to sleep in, which I think is a great new addition. I went to the museum to donate a bone from the mines and also upgraded my hoe at Clint's. I finally had enough road to donate to the museum and finish the fish farmer's bundle, and also donated 5 quality crops, finishing that bundle as well. At home, I crafted a cheese press and a keg for the first time, and fished next to Willie in this bubble spot until it got dark. At home, I grabbed some cheese from the cheese press, replaced it with some milk, and placed some tappers on some of the public trees because otherwise I usually just forget about my tappers. I made a bunch of money from the fish smoker, which I really like, and harvested some ripe hops which I placed into the keg for some pale ale I needed for Pam. I also placed some crab pots into my farm river and gave George a hot pepper for one of his quests. I donated the cheese to the museum and gave a largemouth bass to Emily for a quest. Bought my first goat at Marnie's, and every time I scroll through my animal list, I have to laugh seeing its name. Talking to Marnie after that gave me enough friendship points to finally pick up the lucky shorts, which I gave to Lewis, who was waiting in town for me. I unlocked the 10k Volt bundle for a lightning rod, the 5k one for some quality fertilizer, and the 2.5k for some chocolate cake. I also went through all of my stuff, checking the shipping collection and what I still needed to ship, and used the rest of my energy for cutting down trees on my farm. I went to Clint's on day 55 collecting my steel hoe, and went to the mines collecting some gold, getting mystery boxes from crates, and working on my combat level, where I got a yellow scroll which I could donate to the museum to unlock talking to the dwarf. I collected the rewards that happened collecting there and went back to the mines, where I got another new seed for fall, the broccoli seeds. I also used a bomb to access the dwarf, who had a new book that would help me get less damage from bombs. After bringing all of my stuff home, I went to Pam to give her her pale ale and donated an apple to the community center, finishing the artisan bundle and giving me a keg. I put down my new museum furniture before going to bed. Mystery boxes and geodes were opened on day 55. And I collected some stone for a quest in the mines. Going to my cave that had a pomegranate, which I think meant that I had gotten all of the fruit tree fruits from the bat cave by now. The green rain trees had turned into regular trees, so I cut down some of them in the backwoods and on my farm. The last day of summer, I started harvesting all of my crops, and I really wanted to finish the vault before summer ended, so I sold a bunch of stuff directly to Pierre's, which wasn't enough to reach 25k, so I went to Clint's to sell him more minerals, which put me past that mark by a lot. Still sold the rest of the items I've gotten from home for some extra cash, and then finally unlocked the vault, giving myself a crystallarium and the second star on the board. I collected some beer from a keg that had been processing and put in a salmonberry to get some wine for my shipping collection. I placed the crystallarium and put a diamond inside, and spent the rest of my energy on clearing my farm from the green rain trees. I then finally went to the ocean to talk to all of the villagers which had been collecting there for the dance of the moonlight jelly. And when I got home to go to bed, I watched the Junimos finish repairing the bus stop for me. Fall started by using my scythe on all of the wilted crops and hoeing up more space as well as watering those spots. I made sure to give my animals some love and started by planting all of the seeds I'd collected, including the flower seeds. I accepted Maru's quest and stopped by Pierce to buy some seeds that I immediately planted back home. I spent the rest of the day cutting down trees and the large stumps on my farm until my energy ran out. I did replenish some of my energy though, so I could fish up some midnight carb for Maru. Back home I crafted another preserves jar before going to bed. The next morning started watering all the crops that I still didn't have sprinklers for yet. I collected lots of snails from my crab pots, and I watched Robin and Lewis repair their quest board. I donated some stuff to the museum and got a Rarecrow and a chicken statue in return. Robin's quest was the first one I accepted, and I received a prize ticket for finishing Maru's quest, which gave me 4 quality sprinklers. I gave Penny an egg for her birthday and talked to the kids while I was at the library. I stayed in the town for some fishing and finished my session in Cindersap Forest. I cut down some more trees and placed the quality sprinklers so I didn't have to water my crops anymore. I also put my chicken statue in the coop because where else should it go? The next morning I hoed up some new spots around my last sprinkler and placed some broccoli seeds, which are the new fall exclusive seeds. I cut down some more trees and finished my riverfish bundle, as well as filling the crab pots at the beach. I brought some geodes to Clint and went to the secret forest to slay some slime. The forageables, which are also collected there, brought me to level 8 foraging. On day 60, I dared to go into the skull caverns for the first time. I'm probably the worst Stardew player to go to the skull caverns ever because I hate fighting and I'm just horrible at managing my health, but I did reach level 43 without using any ladders, which I'm really proud of. I put all of the stuff I didn't need into the shipping bin, brewed up some more tea, and crafted some tea saplings to place next to my house. I also crafted another furnace to speed up my ore smelting progress. And just when I wanted to go to bed, 2 iron bars finished, so I had to put in some more ore, only for it to happen to me again. I did reach level 8 mining too. On a rainy day 61, I collected all of the stuff from my machines, took care of my chicken, read the woodshopper's book for some XP as well as chopping down some trees. I went fishing and crab pot collecting, and stayed up late fishing at the beach, where I exhausted myself for an albacore and a Jewels of the Sea book. I finished the night fish bundle, which gave me a glow ring, and also finished the fish tank. I collected some batteries and received 10,000 gold from Mr. Key, and every single playthrough I forget how much money he gives you. I gave Robin her lost axe, which gave me 2,500 gold, and finished the fall foraging bundle. I found out that you can now put fish into the fishing tank, which is a detail I really love. I collected some maple syrup and went to Clint's to process some geodes. I found this pathway behind Clint's, which gave me another book, but didn't lead anywhere else. I collected some fruit from my fruit bat cave that had collected there and put them directly into my kegs. After smelting some more ore and collecting some of the crops I hadn't seen in the morning, I went back to the mines to collect some gems. I stayed mostly on the ice floors to also collect some iron while I was there. The spirits were very happy on day 63, so I went to the skull caverns and embarrassingly died to a slime, so I had to spend the rest of the day in the normal PG mines. I went to talk to some of the villagers and even gave the wizard a gift, who I normally forget about. The next day I got very lucky with the fruit in my fruit bat cave, and I collected Linus' berry basket to give it to him. This also meant that blackberry season started, so I collected some of those before bringing Sandy a flower and checking out new things she had in her shop. I died at the skull caverns again because why not, and went to the miners guild because I had lost one of my prize tickets and I was definitely going to recover that. I did go to bed defeated, but I reached farming level 9, combat level 7, and fishing level 10, where I have gotten used to choose the pirate profession instead of angler. I went to Clint to collect my gold axe and also started on upgrading my pickaxe. I accepted Linus' cleanup quest and traded the prize ticket for a friendship book. I gave Marnie her amaranth and went fishing at the mountain lake. I also finished a quest for Willy before fishing near the waterfall at home because I saw that there were new fish and I thought maybe they were gonna be at the new farm. I got really lucky with the crab fairy on the night of day 66 and woke up to Marnie on my doorstep requesting a cave carrot. I also did some more fishing on my farm, but since I didn't catch any new fish, I didn't get caught up on it for too long. I put some trash I already had in the bin near the train tracks and collected some more trash at the bathhouse, where I also got one of the paintings. I quickly finished the quest and also collected some money from the other quest I had already finished. I finished the fall crops bundle, which gave me a bee house, and finally finished my pantry. On my way home, I collected some oak resin at the bus stop and put my painting from the bathhouse in my house. The Junimos finished my greenhouse, and there was this really cute raccoon that came out of it. I picked up my golden pickaxe the next morning and went straight to the mines to collect some more ores. I also realized you can collect some prize tickets from the quest board, so I immediately traded them in for some cherry bombs and a sports cap. On day 68, I cut down some more trees and upgraded my barn. I also got started on a golden hoe. I went to Marnie's to check the prices for the cat trees because I really wanted to give my cats a treat, but they were way too expensive for now. So I went back to the farm instead to collect some of my smelted ore and craft my first iridium sprinkler. I went to the greenhouse forgetting my hoe though, so I bombed the floor to hoe it instead, and planted my first ancient seed and some radishes. I freed up some space for my special tall grass to grow and also cleaned up the area around my grandfather's grave. The next morning I harvested my finished cranberries and planted some more seeds in the free spots that I had created. I collected some wine and processed some eggplant and sold most of the stuff in the shipping bin. The spirits were in good humor today, so I did go to the skull caverns, and you can guess what happened there. I killed some mummies, jumped into a shaft not looking at my health and almost dying, jumped into another shaft with enough health. I ran away from a serpent with a staircase because I was too scared to kill it, and it hit me anyways. A few floors down I got attacked by 2 more serpents who almost killed me for the second time, but I did manage to escape this time with barely any health. I sorted all of the stuff I had collected into my chests and went to bed very proud of myself for not dying. I woke up the next morning to a finished golden hoe and the homesteader achievement, which meant I had earned 250k gold. I collected some finished pumpkins and checked out the traveling cart, who didn't have anything special for me. I collected my hoe at Clint's and donated some stuff to the museum. I then went fishing for the anglerfish, which is, in my opinion, the easiest of the legendary fish. I donated the cactus fruit to the dye bundle and placed down a few more furnaces to speed up my ore smelting progress. I also got started on some cooking recipes before chopping down a few more trees in the valley. I also chopped down some of the larger stumps for some hardwood and replenished my crab pots at the beach. On day 71, Evelyn gave me a recipe for some garden pots, and I went to bring Sandy a sunflower on her birthday. And guess what? I died in the mines again. So I gave Harvey 1,000 gold and luckily didn't lose anything too special. I used 100 pieces of hardwood to fix the large tree stump in Cindersap Forest, which looked like a tiny house now, and I'm very excited to see what comes with it. I fished up a few treasure chests in Cindersap Forest and at the beach, receiving a few mystery boxes. The next day was the Stardew Valley Fair, where the shop now also held a prize ticket, so I made a beautiful display with fresh produce and fished for a while at the minigame. I also did the target practice game and found that I am not so good at that minigame, which was definitely only because my slingshot fire mode was on the wrong mode. So I played it for a second time and still found out that this is not my favorite game at the fair. I went gambling in frustration and put all of my money on green and lost, so I had to go back to the fishing game to actually win some tokens. I went fishing for a third time and put all of my tokens on green again, this time winning. And I also won first place in the prize competition. I collected all of the stuff from my display, bought a star fruit from the shop, and gambled all of my tokens for a third time to buy the prize ticket and the scarecrow. Since I had so many tokens left, I also decided to buy everything else from the shop. At home, I sold all of the stuff from my display and sorted the rest into my chests. I lost track of time decorating my house with all of the fair items, so I fell asleep in front of my bed. On day 73, I saw the new texture for juice for the first time, which I think is a beautiful addition. I collected some oak resin and went to Clint's once again to open some geodes. I also got a fish smoker for one of the prize tickets, and I learned the recipe for coleslaw. Going to Cindersap Forest, I found out that a raccoon had moved into the treehouse, and it wanted a smoked bream and some crayfish. So I went to replenish my crab pots and accepted another quest from the quest board. I went to the mines to get started on the quest, but I didn't get lucky, so I went back home with the warp totem. I placed some crab pots at my farm and also collected those I had placed at the beach since crayfish don't spawn there and I wanted to finish the quest for the raccoon. I placed those 4 crab pots in the town river instead. I gave Marnie a diamond for her birthday and went back to the mines to work on my quest. Again, I wasn't too lucky though, so I went back home early to smoke some fish. I sold most of them but kept one of the smoked bream for the raccoon. The next morning I collected 1 of 5 crayfish for my crab pots and went to Clint's to open up some geodes. I also met a bunch of villagers in town, so I made sure to talk to all of them. I collected 2 more crayfish from the crab pots in the town river and talked to Caroline to finish one of my quests. I went to the mines for the quest again, but instead of finding ectoplasm, I reached mining level 9, unlocking the crystallarium, and combat level 8. On day 76, I finished George's quests. I also bought a second cat, sticking with the theme I had started, and immediately had to give him some love. Day 77 was another rainy day, so I collected some crops and went to the Raccoon thinking I had enough crayfish, which I didn't, so I went to check the town river, and luckily there was another 5th one. So I donated both of the things to the Raccoon, and he gave me 25 powder melon seeds for it. I went to the mines in hopes of finally finishing the quest, but I instead found a prismatic shard. Can you believe that? I still didn't have any ectoplasm, but I find a prismatic shard from a slime. At home, I smelted some more ore until time forced me to go to bed, and woke up the next day to say hello to both of my cats laying in the sun. And then I remembered I had a greenhouse, so I went inside to collect the finished radishes. I opened some frozen geodes at Clint's and donated a bunch of stuff at the museum. I accepted another quest and went to the mines again, although I think that this quest is a lot easier than the ectoplasm one. I checked my skills, which I think are looking pretty good, and went to finish the bone quest the next day. Since it was already very late anyways, I stayed in the mines to collect some more items. Day 80 started with checking my fruit bat cave and collecting a prize ticket from the quest board, which I traded in for some artifact troves. I immediately went to Clint's to open them, and got an arrowhead and a pearl. I got another Rarecrow from donating to the museum and placed it back home before collecting some more tea leaves. I got a bunch of gold for finishing the bone fragment quest and went back to the mines to collect some more resources. On day 81, I placed some more kegs to process some more tea and got a crystallarium from a treasure room in the skull caverns. I didn't stay too long though because I didn't want to die this time. So I went back home to process my tea and went to the regular safer mines to collect some gold. I processed the gold back home and went straight to bed. I collected and sold some crops on day 84 and went to the museum to organize my items. I collected some more gold in the mines and got really lucky on the ores, since they spawned in huge chunks together. I went to check on the Raccoon, who was now looking for a wife, and went fishing in Cindersap Forest until it got dark. I made another cheese press on day 85 and went fishing yet again before going back home and selling most of my items. I went through my list of crafting recipes to see what I hadn't crafted yet, and also made some tabbers for the trees in the backwoods. I put a seed maker I had crafted into the greenhouse, and then I headed over to the town square for the Spirits Eve Fest. I'm pretty sure there aren't any new things in the shop, but there definitely is a new layout for the maze. I collected the golden pumpkin, talked to Penny and checked out this hut, and I placed the Rarecrow I had bought at Pierre's when I came back home. On the last day of fall, I collected all of the crops that had grown and spent a few hours in the mines before going to Clint to open some more geodes and mystery boxes. I donated the few items I had gotten to the museum and got this really beautiful crystal chair. And when I went to Cindersap Forest, the Raccoon had found a wife. He also had another quest for me, which I would happily fulfill. I went to Marnie's to buy some heaters for winter, and I also finally bought the cat tree. I placed the heater in my coop first, placed the cat tree into my house, and then went to Robin's to upgrade my coop. I placed the second heater in my barn, collecting some cheese on the way, and then I went fishing in the mountain lake, where I got some elvish jewelry from a treasure chest. Before the day could end, I did go to the mines to collect some more ore. Gunther stopped by on my first winter day to thank me for all of the work I had done for the museum and give me the rusty key. I hoed some spots between my sprinklers to make room for all of the powder melon seeds I had gotten from the Raccoon, which also meant I had to water them all. The spirits were very happy today, so you know what that means, a scary skull cavern run. It didn't even start that bad, but then I got a little too ambitious on one of the serpents, and yeah. I am definitely single-handedly keeping Harvey's business alive. To lift my spirits, I went to the Adventurers Guild and collected some of my rewards. I also went to bed, reaching level 10 mining. The next morning, I woke up to some more fruit in my fruit bat cave and donated the elvish jewelry to the museum. I accepted Clint's quest on the board and went to the ocean for some fishing. I also realized I hadn't checked the calendar for new festivals yet, so that's what I did next. I went to the museum to finish the field research bundle with the nautilus shell, and then I went foraging around town and fishing in the mountain lake. I smoked a bunch of fish, and when I went to bed I got really lucky with the witch spawn. The next morning I cleaned up my farm and sold all of my sprinklers because I knew I was gonna upgrade to quality sprinklers until spring. I collected the witch's void egg and put it into the incubator and collected some more hay for my animals. I also bought an auto grabber for my coop. I dug up some poor dead person's book, went to check on the new Winter Star bundle, and finished the winter foraging bundle. That completed room number 5 in the community center. I gave Linus a perch for his birthday and placed all of the winter seeds when I came back home. I also went to the secret forest for some forageables and to chop down some more stems for some hardwood. I went fishing yet again, and when I went to bed, the Junimos repaired the bridge for me. Day 92 started with crafting some machinery and giving Pam some refined quartz she requested. I also went to the quarry for the first time, where I got another ancient seed from an artifact spot. I stayed there to collect some more ore and coal, and when I came back home I planted the ancient seed in my greenhouse. I also reached level 9 combat and earned a bunch of money. On day 89, I collected some maple syrup and finally met Krobus. I went to the community center to start the Winter Star bundle and went to the mines where I started receiving secret notes. I reached a Monster Slayer goal by killing a bat. I upgraded my coop on day 90 and checked Robin's shop to see if she had anything new. I then went to Clint's to open some geodes and a mystery box and went to trade in my next prize ticket. I went to the mines to work on my combat level in the hopes of maybe reaching level 10 combat as well, and I finished the cave patrol quest for 6,000 gold. I also got the crystal fruit jelly for the Raccoon and sold the rest of my things in the shipping bin. On day 91, Pierre showed up at my doorstep to tell me how much better he was than everybody else, and I collected my first harvest of powder melons. I gave Caroline a summer spangle and donated 5 of the powder melons to finish the Winter Star bundles for some mystery boxes, and that meant I had only one more bundle to go. I went to the sewers to talk to Krobus for the first time and checked out his shop, and I went to the Statue of Uncertainty to fix my embarrassing mistake from earlier. I went to Cindersap Forest because I realized I hadn't checked the traveling cart in a long time and I still needed the red cabbage seeds. So I started to get a little nervous since I may have already missed the red cabbage seed. So I couldn't believe my eyes when I opened the traveling cart menu and not only seeing a red cabbage seed but a fully grown red cabbage. I of course immediately bought it along with some caviar. Back home I gave some clay to my fishing pond and went straight to the museum donating the red cabbage, my last item, finally finishing the community center. And I'm pretty sure this is the earliest I've ever completed the community center on any of my runs. I checked on the ancient seed in my greenhouse, which still hadn't grown, and when I went to bed, I chose the only right profession you're allowed to choose on level 10 farming. Jody stopped by on day 92 to request a largemouth bass, and Gus also stopped by to give me a jukebox, which I placed into my house. I went straight to the town square to unlock the community center cutscene, and was excited to bring my trophy home to display it in my house. It was also another festival day, so I went to dominate everyone in the fishing minigame and won a bunch of items for fishing. Back home I sold a bunch of items and went to bed earning 40,000 gold, which is pretty good to me. On day 93 I harvested all of my forageables along with some powder melons, and I named the void chicken that had grown mushroom. And aren't the Stardew Valley chicks so freaking adorable? They're definitely my favorite. I got so excited about everything I had accomplished that I chopped down my peach tree and walked into a fight between Abigail and her mother. I bought the Dehydrator recipe at Pierre's, which I figured would allow me to craft the dried powder melon. So I went home to craft it and dried some powder melon for my beloved Raccoon. I grabbed the crystal fruit jelly and brought both of the items to the Raccoon, receiving a Raccoon journal. This book gave me a greater chance to receive mixed seeds when cutting down weeds. I bought my third and final cat to complete my trio, gave him his appropriate name, and received another book that gave me some combat XP. I walked into another fight. Why is everyone fighting? But I had to go back home to grab some hardwood because I had forgotten what I needed to build the cat bowl. I creepily waited in front of Sebastian's room to give him a frozen tear for his birthday, which immediately unlocked a cutscene. I went to chop down some stumps for some hardwood and reached foraging level 9. I finally mined the meteor for some iridium and went to check if the Raccoon had anything else for me to do. I bought another cat house at Marnie's and went to the quarry to chop down some resources. Since most of my tools were gold already, I decided it was time to get the golden scythe as well. I stayed in the quarry until it got dark, mining most of the coal and the trees. I corrupted my data from day 96, but I mostly did the same thing I did on day 97. The squid fishing festival took place on both of those days, so I spent most of my time at the ocean fishing for squid and maximizing the points coins I could get. I collected all of my rewards and there were a lot. I started day 98 saying hello to all of my cats and Marie gave me a snail. And I went to Clint's to open some geodes. I donated some bones I had at home to the museum and went to the traveling cart, which definitely didn't have anything worth buying. I went to cut down some stumps for more hardwood, took care of my animals, and when I went to bed, I had another witch visit my coop. It wasn't really necessary since my void chicken had already grown up and started laying eggs, but it was still cool nonetheless. I chopped down some more wood in the secret forest, went to the quarry for some resources, and spent most of the day working on my combat skill in the hopes of maybe reaching one more level 10 skill. I spent my evening at the night market, which is my favorite festival, and checked the stores for some new items. Yeah, we're not getting that anytime soon. I went fishing in the submarine, catching the midnight squid first, followed by the spookfish, a very annoying octopus, and finally the blobfish. Now that I had everything I wanted, I could use my farm warp totem to go back home. I sold a bunch of stuff, prepping for my final day in the valley. I used my final hours to work on my combat skill, got a prismatic shard from a shadow boy, and also found a few more secret notes. I went back home, sold everything that I could, and spent my last evening of day 100 at my favorite festival, buying my favorite IRL vegetable and sipping on my least favorite IRL drink. And while I was sitting there on the pier next to my favorite villager in her cute new winter outfit, all I could feel was pride over everything I had accomplished in 100 days. And I hope you enjoyed too. Thanks for watching.